racing from Verstappen, and he's kept the place.
This was Yuki Tsunoda turning in, Pierre Gasly trying to go around the outside, and the Alpine and the Red Bull coming together. It took out Pierre Gasly immediately, and Yuki Tsunoda will go no further. He is mired in the pit lane, and these two friends colliding on the opening lap of the Grand Prix. I can tell you that the turn one incident that we've been talking about has been noted by race control. Piastri to the apex, Verstappen hanging on to it, and Verstappen is still the lead car in the Grand Prix.
Okay, noted doesn't mean that it can't then escalate.
Yeah,
yes.
it will be surely. The race control can tell Max to give the position up. They can't do that under safety car, which is where we're currently at. So will Max oblige, or he'll be into what routinely now is a 10-second penalty. So it's now, assuming it's investigated and assuming the stewards find that that is a foul, then it's in his interest to just give that up and try and get it back on track.
We're looking at the replays. I want to give you the full order of the race because of that crash and the drama at turn one. We haven't done that yet. The stewards are now going to look at Verstappen and Piastri. It's under investigation. It's been upgraded from noted to under investigation. This was Pierre Gasly, who is a retirement in the Grand Prix, heading into the first turn. And this was Yuki Tsunoda on the left-hand side. Cars picking their way through. So it's Verstappen and Antonelli who were off the road at the first turn. And this is going to lead us to the accident that we've seen a couple of times. Gasly's going to try and go the long way round. And meeting in the middle on the apex with Tsunoda, a retirement as well. It's Verstappen, Piastri, Russell, Leclerc, Antonelli, up a place Hamilton, down a place Sainz. Norris is in 8th, and it's Albon and Alonso, the top 10.
Yeah, he just forced me off. There was no intention of him to make that corner.
Yeah, understood, Max.
Well, there's the contrary point of view, and actually, if you're just looking at that camera angle, you might go, well, okay, we'll hear what you have to say, but the off-board, I think, is a much clearer show of what actually happened there. But okay, let's.
Yeah, he just forced me off. There was no intention of him to make that corner.
Yeah, understood, Max.
Be taking a look at it. The time, the race director can issue the instruction, but now it's gone to the steward.
He was never going to make that corner, regardless of whether I was there or not.
Speed until this man dictates it. Max Verstappen at the head of the field, about to rotate the Red Bull through turn 27 and stand on the throttle pedal. When do we go? It's super late, and we will go back to racing speed with Max Verstappen possessing a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining the advantage, but he's got P1 and he's got the field trailing him. Oscar Piastri having to go defensive. George Russell trying to improve. Are we going to go 3 wide? Piastri trying to hang on to second position. He does so, and it's Verstappen, then Piastri, then Russell, then Charles Leclerc with Kimi Antonelli trying to improve, and on the restart lap Verstappen kept track position, but he's got a 5-second time penalty.
And that changes his strategy. That means he's now got to run a pace faster than he may have to, given if he didn't have that penalty, to protect himself later in the Grand Prix at the pit stop.
Well, it's kept clear air, but has he got the car pace now to pull away from Piastri, who did a good job there to cling on to second place? It was actually a pretty lousy restart from Oscar, who just didn't react when Max hit the hammer coming out of the final corner. Dived to the inside, and they were 3 wide, the McLaren, Mercedes and the Ferrari there, and it was going to be a case of who's bravest, and that was Piastri once again, who's got a good measure of that braking point down to turn 1. So he's done a great job at holding Russell at bay, which now gives him the net lead, with Verstappen having that 5-second penalty.
Yeah, I don't see it so much about having to pull away from Piastri. He just needs to pull away from the rest. It's about George, it's about that group behind. I don't think in underlying race pace, everything we've seen, then this was going to be a Suzuka replay. So it's about those two pulling away and Max consolidating enough of a gap to come away with second place.
Well, actually, in effect, he would have been second place had he just ceded the position anyway. That first corner.
Laid on the brakes for Isaac Hadjar to improve to the points. No one does that sort of move and gets away with it when you're up against Fernando Alonso. The Aston Martin driver will try and come back immediately. DRS will be enabled on this lap. Alonso is trying to get the place back, but Hadjar laid on the brakes into the 27th and final turn, and he gets past Fernando Alonso, who is down to 11th. Alonso had improved 3 places at the start of the Grand Prix. That's now back to 2.
Lovely stuff from Hadjar, who's moved forward well. He's got ahead of Liam Lawson as well, who out-qualified him for the first time. As we see Yuki Tsunoda wandering back from outside of the points, and another difficult one for the second Red Bull, but the first Red Bull still leads the race. I imagine it's a 5-second penalty because of the leniency maybe of the start and the first corner of the race. It was here last year that Kevin Magnussen got a 10-second penalty for gaining a position effectively off the track as well, which is similar to what Max did.
Information, you have been given a 5-second time penalty for the incident at turn 1. Head down.
Well, that is
Max.
lovely.
No comment. Thank you.
GP, you're looking at him, telling his driver not to press the radio button any longer. Has to tell him because it has a huge effect on the race. And Max Verstappen, who had an incredible tussle with Lewis Hamilton around here back in 2021, and a far cleaner one in 2022 with Charles Leclerc. Looks like he's got Oscar Piastri within the DRS, and it is easy to overtake around this racetrack compared to, say, Japan, where Verstappen took his one.
Information, you have been given a 5-second time penalty for the incident at turn 1. Head down.
Well, that is
Max.
lovely.
No comment.
Race control have noted the incident between Tsunoda and Gasly for causing a collision, and Oscar Piastri has the fastest lap in the Grand Prix.
I don't want to upset anyone, but no friends on the racetrack. That happens when you get out of the car and the helmet's off. But I would have thought now, Max, Piastri coming past if he can with DRS, if he's got enough pace in those tyres to stay within DRS and just again try and open up that gap, get a bit of a window away from Russell, because he'll have that penalty to serve at the pit stop. Or are we going to see another safety car later?
Well, it's exactly what Fernando Alonso did a couple of years ago. From the front row, he got a 5-second penalty for starting out of position. Was it Verstappen through or was it Perez through? I think it was Verstappen back then. And stayed with him within 5 seconds, just using the DRS, which we're into now. And it can gain you 0.8 of a second per lap. And it just allowed the Aston Martin sort of artificial pace that he didn't otherwise have. So if Piastri goes through, he's looking quick at the moment, then the key job for Verstappen is to stick with him. And as you say, DC, keep that gap to those behind. George Russell, Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli still running very close.
Well, the counter, of course, is McLaren could say to Piastri, just sit there comfortably, make sure you're not under pressure from Russell, just a little bit of a window on the DRS and effectively keep the field close together, so Verstappen takes more of a penalty from that 5 seconds because he'll be more bunched up traffic to fall behind.
Another position gained for Lando Norris, who gets past the Williams, and Lando Norris moves up to 7th position. He'll look to try and improve past the others, but it gets harder from here. Sainz has talked about picking his battles and not racing those ahead. Carlos Sainz is essentially trying to score 8th place tonight. That is his aim. Here is how the McLaren improved past the Williams.
Lando wasn't miles away from being able to put that move on Carlos the lap before, but he's just gone a couple of tenths quicker, got that little bit closer, used the DRS, and you're absolutely right, Sainz, he knows he doesn't need to fight, especially against that car that is looking very quick around here at the moment. So now Sainz has settled into 8th, still strong, Williams 8th and 9th. That is now his race on. He's let the faster cars go, and Norris can go and chase Lewis Hamilton. He's not out of this podium fight suddenly. Clearing a couple of cars on the first lap, well, they cleared themselves really, didn't they, Tsunoda and Gasly. On that hard tyre, he's still in the mix, especially when you consider Verstappen's 5-second penalty.
And Tsunoda and Gasly is going to be investigated after the race when it comes to causing a collision. So race control want to hear from both drivers before adjudicating on that.
Yeah, I think they could call it right now, quite frankly, because you can imagine what both drivers say. I was ahead for one, and the other one going, well, I can't make my car disappear. I think it's a racing incident. If one or other is blamed for that, then I would say it's another example that the stewards don't always fully understand what it's like to be in the cockpit.
Yeah, it's such a tight track, and that corner is one of the tighter ones as well. I mean, not in terms of it's a faster corner, but the track width and the way that it pinches really does sort of lead to that sort of incident between Tsunoda and Gasly. Gasly looked like he had a decent shot in it around the outside, but yeah, Yuki couldn't vanish.
So we had two cars off the road at the start of the Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli, who feathered back the throttle and made sure Charles Leclerc had fourth place. Max Verstappen, who hung on to the race lead. Verstappen has been penalised for that move with a 5-second time penalty, which he will serve at his first pit stop. We are expecting it to be a one-stop strategy tonight under the floodlights at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, with the window opening for the first 6 cars at around lap 16. This is lap 8 of 50, and we're looking back at Alex Albon, who is currently in 9th position. Isaac Hadjar trying to do what he did in Japan earlier this year and score points in Formula One. He had the DNS that did not start in Australia, 11th in China, 13th last time out in Bahrain, and the point scoring finish inside the top 10 with 8. He's looking good at the moment, and that Racing Bulls car looking in strong configuration around here. Hadjar making moves up against those running the medium tyre. Hadjar is on the half.
Well, you can have any time you like from the top 3 as long as it's 33.8. So Russell doing enough to not quite stay right up in the DRS zone of Piastri, who is just firmly in that 1 second window, but he's doing enough at 3.3 to be in Verstappen's window. And well, all the clever engineers, of course, have got the data to back up the overall picture of what's going on in this Grand Prix. And the actual spread of cars in this early stage of the race, as we've seen in a number of the opening races, pit stop doesn't cover the running, all the cars that are running, quite frankly. So it's a tight bunch of Grand Prix cars.
It's a 19-second stop around this circuit. It's a bit shorter than the others.
We have a track limit strike, turn 2. That was for the incident at turn 1 on lap 1.
I thought they wouldn't count that. It was like you said in the briefing.
Yeah, understood.
Well, if it was literally said in the driver's briefing, then that is, as far as the driver's trust in the race director, that's committed to what the race director will advise to the stewards. So whether that's just a systematic strike that is digitally logged, but as you know, Julian, what goes on in the driver's briefing with the race director, you don't break any agreement that's been said there.
No, we've seen lap deleted on our board, which is the same as GP will see as well, and I don't think that will count again.
We have a track limit strike, turn 2. That was for the incident at turn 1 on lap 1.
I thought they wouldn't count that. It was like you said in the briefing.
Yeah, understood.
Then they both would have cancelled out each other just on the limit of it.
So this is on board with Max Verstappen.
Yeah, knew straight away. So Oscar from the head, he's opened the brakes, and then of course will say that he wasn't able to turn in. Only he will know. We will never know. There can be, ask 10 people, you'll get 11 opinions, because one of them's got a split personality.
If Oscar had have gone over those track limits as well, it would have probably negated Max's penalty. But the fact that he did just stay on means that it was Max that gained the advantage, and Oscar didn't technically exceed the track limits himself. It was very close.
So Max Verstappen continues to lead the Grand Prix, but he has the penalty hanging over him. Verstappen would take the lead of the championship if he was to win the race this evening. If it stayed in these conditions, but Lando Norris is going to have a lot of pace to improve. Only 8 points off the lead of Lando Norris before the start of this one. Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri only 3 back, and he is in a superb position to win the race.
Just think about your gap there, car ahead with any overheating on the front.
Guys, do you not see there's a car right behind me as well? Are we not thinking about that?
A fairly robust response there from Alex Albon. I think it was a message that came in peace and love from his engineer. And you know, it's hot, it's fast, and Alex's heart rate is elevated, and he's just saying, "Look at the big picture, guys. I'm under a little bit of pressure from behind."
Yeah, it's a really warm day, and
Just think about your gap there, car ahead with any overheating on the front.
Guys, do you not see there's a car right behind me as well? Are we not thinking about that?
get off the throttle just before the braking zone and coast into the corners by a smidgen to reduce those temps. But he's saying, hang on, I've got agile breathing down my neck, 1.3 seconds back, so there's not too much to do at that point.
Tsunoda is out of the race along with Pierre Gasly. You are on board with Oscar Piastri, trying to emulate his mentor Mark Webber and take the lead of the World Championship. The last Australian driver to lead the World Championship was Mark Webber. It was 15 years ago. Piastri in a good position to take advantage of his checkmate, effectively. He's happy just to run 1 second back. He's making no attempt to close up to Max Verstappen and risk a wheel-to-wheel moment. He knows that if McLaren can give him a clean pit stop and the in-lap and out-lap goes to plan, he's going to take the lead.
How's the pace? How's the tyres? Yeah, I mean, tyres are hot, so yeah, clean air would be incredible.
The drivers have all of that information available to on the dash: surface temperature, core temperature, and that's one of the things on other tracks that is more of a management than we've seen on this track so far. What they haven't done on this day in history is go as far into a long run, free practice, long run.
How's the pace? How's the tyres? Yeah, I mean, tyres are hot, so yeah, clean air would be incredible.
Now on Lewis, get that clean air, but he's going to really have to wait for everyone else to pit before he does that, because he's got a line of cars, even if he picks off the Ferrari. Piastri's close. He is putting the pressure on Verstappen. He's got 4 seconds back to Russell. This is working nicely for Max as well to open the gap to third place, but he's having to look in the mirrors here.
This is further back into the final corner of the racetrack, and Lando Norris gets past Lewis Hamilton. Norris on the hard tyre, Hamilton on the medium, but the McLaren is currently a superior car, and Hamilton hasn't given this one up. Will he go around the outside and retake the place? He will. Hamilton fighting up against his countryman, and Hamilton retakes P6, doesn't want to give up the position, and Norris will have to do it all over again.
Nice little battle, but what that will do, of course, is compromise a little bit the pace through 1 and 2. Hamilton would have gained with DRS on the front straight, but again, we talk about looking at big picture. Who are you racing, and which race are you trying to stay in? And when you start tripping over each other, you can end up losing overall lap time.
Lewis has played DRS games around here before. In 2021, that DRS detection point is just before the final corner, and Lando just got ahead of Lewis at that point. By overtaking at the final corner, he allowed Lewis to come back through into turn 1. So he's got to be a bit wiser than that, because it's a chance to pass, but it's an easy chance for the rival to repass.
Just watching the way the top 3 are delivering the lap time, Max is consistently 3 or 4 tenths quicker in that first sector, and then he's matched in the middle, and then invariably a little bit down in the third, especially with the DRS being deployed by Piastri. So putting a bit more energy into the tyres. Is he going to go? Oh. He didn't want to, I think, at one point, but Hamilton's backed out of it, and as you said, Julian, playing DRS games.
So Norris goes through. He didn't want to. He wanted to wait so he could make the move into turn 1, and this is why Lewis Hamilton was happy to let him overtake, because he gets him back. Take 2, 1 lap on, and Hamilton's still the lead car in this battle for 6th.
And that is why he jumped on the anchors so much into that final corner. to kind of allow Norris to come through. The detection used to be in before that corner. It's now just on the exit. So any move into the final corner will mean that you're a sitting duck on the way out. So you kind of got to play how slow can you go at that final turn to make sure that then at the final DRS chance, you're the driver that gets the overtake.
So it used to be there, but after 22, when it was McLaren Verstappen, and basically after you, they moved it to the other side of the corner, and Lewis Hamilton with superb racecraft, and he's still P6 right now.
But they're tripping over each other, going a second slower than the cars in front. So Antonelli is looking in his mirror saying, thank you very much.
Hamilton's just having fun out there, isn't he? He's just racing, he's just enjoying this moment of the Grand Prix, scrapping with the championship leader at the moment. And he's got no massive pressure from behind. There's two Williams there that probably won't be too much of a factor for Hamilton's Grand Prix over the next 36 laps.
Okay, mate, strat 8, play the game.
After you. No one trying to overtake into the final corner. Lando Norris this time waits for this DRS zone. Told to play the game by his engineer. Waits for the DRS down to turn number 1. Hamilton will hug to the inside line, and the McLaren will have the greater speed. And is it finally the moment for Lando Norris to get by? It is. Finally, he is P6 after an entertaining battle.
Okay, mate, strat 8, play the game.
In 2025.
Meanwhile, out front, there's now a second and a half between Verstappen and Piastri, and there's nearly 6 seconds between Verstappen and Russell. So, had there not been a 5-second penalty for Max, the Red Bull looks like it's a car able to fight with the McLaren out front, and maybe he still can if he can just keep extending that gap. Norris now can go and chase after Antonelli. There's 3 seconds between those two, and this McLaren here should be able to have the pace to hunt down the second Mercedes.
Yeah, he'll now be able to get that cool air across his tyres as we go on board with Lawson on Alonso. Alonso not putting up a battle there, letting him go with his DRS. So Piastri may have just dropped back a little bit to bring his surface temperatures down. Norris gets what he was asking for, some clean air. It'll be very interesting to see now, does Norris in that hard tyre start to nibble his lap times closer to the mediums?
Piastri has to make sure that gap doesn't get close to 5 seconds. He's still under control, and maybe he is just trying to cool the tyres and go again. He's only half a second away from DRS range still, but Verstappen's pace is good. He's 4/10 quicker than George Russell on the last lap, 3/10 quicker than Leclerc. So the Red Bull's quicker than everyone, maybe even than the McLaren at the moment, but certainly it's a match for the McLaren.
Okay, it's Max Verstappen in the lead of the 5th Grand Prix of the season. Piastri sitting there 1.6 seconds behind. George Russell without the race pace compared to the 1-lap speed. He was only 1/10 of a second behind pole position yesterday. Charles Leclerc in 4th. Kimi Antonelli going very nicely P5 for Mercedes. And the 6th place finisher from the Formula 2 Championship last year in P5. Then it's Norris and this man.
They're just sliding around out here, mate. Front end rears.
Yeah, understood. We believe he's overheating. I will gain the back.
Well, as we were saying earlier, the drivers...
They're just sliding around out here, mate. Front end rears.
Yeah, understood. We believe he's overheating. I will gain the back.
Might be doing part sports psychologist by giving Lewis a focus, because Lewis has got that information without even getting on the radio. It's not like it'll come as a great surprise to him where his tyre temps are.
Yes, but also sometimes it is nice just to have that information again just drilled into you, because the engineers do see all these numbers, and Lewis has been in the thick of battle for the last couple of laps. He's been using the traction a lot, trying to keep ahead of Lando, braking hard as well at turn 1. So then actually when you start to feel the tyres are going away, we're maybe getting towards a pit stop window should they want it. It is good, I think, at that point for him to be reminded that actually you can cool the tyres a little bit, use that lifting coast, and you've got, again, no pressure from behind, and you can get this tyre to go on. There's sort of thermal degradation, and then there's just plain wear in the tyres, and at the moment it's a bit of thermal that they're struggling with. They can be cooled and they can live on.
Well, an update on the comparison on tyres. You had Piastri and Norris, the best direct comparison we could get. absolutely the same lap time on that last lap. Both in relatively, we've got to say, clean air. But Norris a couple of seconds or so behind Antonelli. Piastri getting close to that 2 seconds. So the hard tyre is coming into its window.
And we are developing a battle for the Grand Prix lead. Talked about the checkmate that we saw earlier. When you're within DRS, when it's 0.7 of a second, it's one thing. Last time around, Max Verstappen a 1:33.7, Oscar Piastri a 1:34.1. The gap is now 2.4 seconds. And if it keeps ticking up, the pressure on that McLaren pit stop will only get even more intense than it already is. And every pit stop for the Formula One race lead is always high pressure on the shoulders of the mechanics.
Throws away one of his tear-offs. See how delicately he made sure it was up and away from anything that could affect the cooling. Always a slight risk that it could find its way into your rear wing. You'd think, actually, given this digital age and all of the technology in Formula One, we'd come up with a better way of replenishing the visor. I think in motocross have a kind of little windy thing that effectively brings up the film across, therefore it's not deposited on the racetrack.
This super high-tech sport with this prototype technology, and if it isn't your drinks bottle causing trouble, it's your tear-off potentially causing an issue. Fernando Alonso is the driver on the left-hand side of your screen. He's within DRS of Liam Lawson. Everyone trying to eke this first stint out as long as possible. The gap out front now, it's grown again, 2.7 seconds between Verstappen and Piastri.
And Verstappen is the fastest man on circuit. Still, Russell radios and said his tyres are toast. So Verstappen is at least in second place in this race and quite comfortably there. And there could even be a sort of undercut in play for Max as well. The 19-second gap would now bring him out right with Lewis Hamilton and very soon ahead of Lewis Hamilton. So if Max can bolt on some tyres and do a really punchy couple of outlaps, he might be able to take this 5-second penalty and stay ahead of Oscar at this point. It's time for Piastri to hop on it.
Yeah, and Piastri going slower now by 0.3 on that previous lap than Norris. So again, just emphasising the hard tyre is not dropping away. Piastri is definitely in a window where he's getting cleaner air, colder air. Well, cold, that's not the case here in Saudi, but you know what I mean, cleaner air over his tyres.
Lando Norris is getting past Kimi Antonelli. 5th place for Lando Norris, who's had good pace on that hard tyre. He's cleared many cars now, 10th on the grid, up to 5th position. And Norris able to easily get by. Norris reduced that gap. It was 3 seconds. He caught and passed the Mercedes man. He is up to P5.
Antonelli is struggling quite a lot as well. He's a second slower than those at the front, and Piastri is pitting, so they're having to react because Verstappen is driving away from him. So the undercut is on Piastri's side here to make sure he puts on some new tyres and stays within a net 5 seconds of Verstappen.
They cannot invite any more pressure with that gap at 2.9, knowing that Max Verstappen will have to serve a 5-second penalty before Red Bull can service the car. That's Oliver Behrman in your picture, who was a point scorer here last year with Ferrari. A key moment in the destiny of who takes home the largest trophy tonight.
Still pulling away from the cars behind Max. There's still traffic that we were pit into. Just keep going. This is a fantastic job.
No, McLaren don't appear to be trying to pull a dummy. The mechanics have made their way out into the pit lane.
This is a big moment in the Grand Prix. McLaren bring in their lead contender for victory. Oscar Piastri has not been happy with these tyres for many laps. McLaren watched that gap grow. Piastri said on the radio he wasn't happy with the mediums. It's a steady stop, but it gets him back into the race. 3.4 seconds. Will Red Bull respond? What can Max Verstappen do on the mediums? Piastri will have the fresh rubber as he rejoins the circuit.
Still pulling away from the cars behind Max. There's still traffic that we were pit into. Just keep going. This is a fantastic job.
Very, very close to Oscar Piastri. Oscar's fed out behind Lewis Hamilton then by a couple of seconds. That's the gap that Max was just about to clear as well. But of course he has a 5-second penalty, which would put him right with Oscar Piastri. So can Max keep digging in, and can Oscar now get on it on this outlap and make sure he keeps himself within the net 5 seconds?
Yeah, this is a fascinating part of the race. Piastri does have a bit of clean air to Hamilton, just looking, we're directly opposite the Red Bull pit box. There is mechanics standing.
And there's one Red Bull left in the race. The Grand Prix win is on the line. Max Verstappen is rarely passed in the final stint of a Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri came into the pits. He took on new tyres. It wasn't McLaren's fastest stop. It was 3.4 seconds. And will Red Bull take the moment to respond? They will not. Verstappen goes again. And that is a big call in the destiny of the Grand Prix win.
Yeah, we now have to see what the lap times are for Piastri as he continues to hunt down Hamilton. They were ready for a late call. The mechanics were there.
They didn't have the gap. It was 3.5 seconds with a good pit stop there for Red Bull. So they came out just in case there was an error or traffic on Piastri's outlap, but actually Piastri just did the fastest middle sector and final sector of the race on that lap. So it was a good outlap and it's kept him in front at the moment. So Verstappen extends.
George Russell rejoins the racetrack in 7th place. Alex Albon having to get defensive up against Isaac Hadjar. Albon on fading medium tyres. Hadjar with the slightly more durable soft, hard compound, I should say. Whitewalled hard compound for the Racing Bulls, and that's the car we're on with at the moment.
And with the pit stops ahead as well, Russell coming in and Antonelli coming in. Norris has got a little bit of clear air to Leclerc, who will surely be coming in soon as well. And he's just done his personal best lap of the race, as Verstappen is told to absolutely give it the beans on this lap. He may well be looking at an in-lap soon.
Yeah, well, I think the reason they're giving it that is this man here, Hamilton. He's right on the cusp of not being able to get past him.
And Piastri going very brave to a dirty, dusty part of the racetrack to make the move into turn 23. He had to keep all 4 wheels on the road, and he did so. Check the gap, though. What has he lost trying to overtake the 7-time world champion? It's 21.5 seconds as Verstappen pits from the lead.
Yeah, crucially, though, that might have held Hamilton a little bit, which will mean when Verstappen comes out, he'll clear him.
I think he'll be behind both of them, but he's got to cover off Russell as well, remember, because Russell's just pitted on the last lap.
Charles Leclerc goes through, Lando Norris running long as well. Max Verstappen had a tidy pit stop, and Hamilton remains in the wheel tracks of Oscar Piastri, who is the lead car to have stopped in the Grand Prix. McLaren went early, they made the call. Verstappen has fresher tyres. He will try and attack, and we'll see how the cars fare. It looked like, for all of McLaren's prowess when it comes to tyre degradation, that the Red Bull, with the clean air, had the better of the medium. How will they fare on the hard? Either way, that first turn, 5-second penalty, effectively switching our net race leader. It's currently P3, it will be P1.
This was a brave pass from Piastri. Unconventional part of the circuit, the first chance with the DRS, and through he slid.
Yeah, that was gutsy to run it out onto the dust with the DRS, and then Hamilton there, I think, slightly taken aback.
So that was really brave stuff from Oscar Piastri. Knew he had to make the move instantly and cleanly. You're looking at the new race leader, yet to stop in the race, Charles Leclerc, who was a really frustrated character yesterday after qualifying. Put it P4, but he said that was the maximum. That's everything he had yesterday. And he was frustrated to see that he was 0.4 of a second away from the pole position time. It's frustrating if you can't quite get there through an error, but for Charles Leclerc, even more frustrating that he felt it was a brilliant lap, and he was still 0.4 of a second away.
It's got good race pace once again, though, as we see the real race leaders here. Piastri with Hamilton in between him and Max Verstappen, and Max is right with Lewis now.
Let's see how many tires go.
I think it's got to be a suggestion towards another stop if he's worried about how these tyres go. And this is not a great place for Verstappen to be catching Hamilton. Is he going to get...
Let's see how many tires go.
A chunk of time through the section.
So Lewis Hamilton heading into turn 13. It is so much high-speed stuff through the first section of the racetrack. We're into the second one, and you can see that Max Verstappen is all over the back of the Ferrari, but no clean place to pass, and he's restricted to the Ferrari speed. All the while, Piastri building a gap.
It's got so much more pace on these fresh tyres. It's absolutely swarming over the back of the Ferrari. This is where Oscar then made the move around the outside, and Max doesn't fancy it. He'll wait for the more conventional spot, which could be at the final corner now, but then you've got the DRS games into the first corner again. So what does Max do, and does Lewis put up a fight?
Lewis Hamilton's going to come into the pits, so Verstappen was going to get the place anyway. He goes around the outside of Lewis Hamilton, and Hamilton will peel into the pit lane. Verstappen gets through. He's 3.7 seconds away from Oscar Piastri after Hamilton's end of stint pace enlarged the gap between the McLaren and the Red Bull.
Yeah, that was costly, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, and that's a further compound onto that 5-second penalty.
Leclerc stays out. Norris, of course, stays out on that hard tyre. He's going to go long, and he's just done his personal best lap of the race. 4/10 slower than his teammate, who's slowly catching him, having made the pit stop. Verstappen's now unleashed into fourth, and is a direct 4 seconds away from Piastri, with Russell 3 seconds back and snookered by the Red Bull pace in the first stint.
Sainz able to get past Doohan, and Sainz up to 12th. Doohan stopped under the safety car along with Esteban Ocon earlier on. They rolled the dice on the strategy, DC.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Norris has done a great job on that set of hards to only be a few tenths slower than Piastri, who's running in clean air, knows he's got a race on, and we know that they can push on these tyres. To be within the same half second after all of these racing laps, it just shows the longevity of the Pirellis around this racetrack.
He's had a good drive so far, and Leclerc and Norris now will be hoping a safety car comes out, because that would suddenly bring them into play for a podium fight, because it makes the pit stop loss so much slower as everyone else has to go at reduced pace.
That's a replay of Carlos Sainz taking P12 to tell you how much you save. You save 9 seconds under the safety car if that was to happen about now. You can see the degradation of the tyres off the racing line, the marbles, the little balls of rubber from the worn away Pirellis that we have off the racing line to the left hand side and the right hand side of the fastest route around the circuit, showing that even though it's a smooth surface and a high grip surface, it is one that's causing a little bit more degradation. Certainly Mercedes, with George Russell having trouble with that in the way that they did not have last week in Bahrain.
The Ferrari looks really good though on the mediums. Leclerc's again pumped in his best lap of the race. He's only 3/10 slower than Norris, and Norris is going on that hard tyre that's really durable.
This is Liam Lawson moving up to 15th place, and Bortoletto nearly gets clipped by the man who's part of his management team. Fernando Alonso gets by as well. It was off the road, and Fernando Alonso will feather back and give the position up, and it was nearly a more consequential collision between these two.
Yeah, I think that was Bortoletto just didn't see Alonso coming, so Alonso's cat-like reactions enabling him to avoid an incident. So I'm not really sure he needed to give that one back. Well, he did in terms of gaining an advantage, but he gained an advantage by avoiding a crash.
Yeah, Bortoletto almost put him in the wall. There was only just the space. I completely agree. I think he was so busy trying to get back to the racing line to go and attack Lawson again. Oh.
Wow, he moved under braking. Oh, that was close. Oh, so close. Check the car.
One feels that Fernando might add an extra 5% on his management fee just to teach him a lesson.
He had no idea he was there, did he? He's come from the inside. He's got mirrors full of Lawson. He's not expecting the dark green of the Aston Martin on the outside.
Big speed down to turn number 1, and you could hear it from the two-time world champion, 43-year-old Fernando Alonso.
Wow, he moved under braking. Oh, that was close. Oh, so close. Check the car.
New in this race, Alonso searching for his first points of the season, and he's only in 16th position, but he gets by the Sauber into turn 1 this time with a lot less drama. And before that, we were looking at Carlos Sainz, who has cleared Doohan, and now he has cleared Esteban Ocon. Doohan and Ocon both stopping under the safety car that we had on the opening lap of the Grand Prix, thanks to a collision between Tsunoda and Gasly, and race control looking at that one after the race.
There's no deg on these tyres. It's well, there is some deg, of course, but you actually look at it, it's, in relative terms, there's hardly any deg when you look at the time that Leclerc and Norris are doing relative to Piastri and Verstappen on the fresher rubber.
Leclerc's doing some magic on those mediums. Another lap, this is his best lap of the race, and again, right on pace with Norris, slightly quicker, only a couple of tenths slower than Piastri on mediums that the rest were struggling with. Piastri was dropping away, Russell said the tyres were overheating. Now Leclerc's got clear air and he is going and going. They may look at putting on a soft at some point later in this race to go and have a real attack, and if he can keep extracting this level of pace, or there's a safety car, then Leclerc can get a podium today.
I like that, putting on a soft. I hope that whispers through to the Ferrari race strategists. Do something different.
He's just done the fastest first sector of the Grand Prix. He's really in contention with George Russell. He's directly in contention with Lando Norris. Those two haven't pitted. If he pits now, he's coming out 3 seconds behind Russell. If he goes on another 10 laps, he'll chuck on the softs and go hunting.
Oliver Behrman, point scorer with Ferrari 1 year ago when he was subbing in for Carlos Sainz, who's on the left-hand side of your picture, and he is 0.8 of a second behind the other Sauber in this race. Hulkenberg scoring points in the opening Grand Prix of the year. They have not revisited the top 10 since. It's lap 27 of 50. Mercedes and McLaren were struggling with that medium tyre. Max Verstappen didn't, but he had the clear air. Charles Leclerc now has the clear air out front as the race leader. And the Mercedes has struggled with tyre temperature. The McLaren has struggled with tyre temperature. But the lead car, that clear air, is worth so much at this stage of the regulations. A new technical rule book for 2026. This is the last year of the regulations that we adopted in 2022. You're looking at the Ferrari in the lead. Charles Leclerc trying to score his first podium of the season. P4, his best so far in F1 2025.
Piastri's just easing towards the back of Norris. He was half a second quicker on the last lap of Norris and Leclerc on the fresher hards. Norris doesn't want to have to get the call to jump out of the way of his teammate who's in race winning contention. But if Piastri gets too close, I'd expect that to come from McLaren, and that will just hurt Lando's race time himself in his battle for an outside shot at a podium at this stage. So he wants to put the pressure on Leclerc and keep clear of his teammate.
Alex Albon has got past Esteban Ocon, and we're on board with Liam Lawson, who's going to improve past Jack Doohan. And that is the move complete, up to 14th. Trying to keep wheel on the road as he goes deep into the first turn. Lawson rebuilding his confidence after being dropped from the senior Red Bull team back to the Racing Bulls entry where he had his Formula One debut, and he continues on trying to score his first points of the season. Alonso, Lawson, Doohan and Bortoleto, the only 4 drivers yet to score this year, and this was the move a few moments ago. Carlos Sainz getting past Hulkenberg, and that is for the final point as it stands.
And Sainz is yet to take the checker flag in the top 10. Points only in China with a load of disqualifications late on. I think Lawson's exceeded track limits on turn 1 there to complete that pass. Potentially was a bit of a tight one, but Sainz is having a very strong drive, has made his pit stop and is back into the top 10 now.
Next we move on to Hadjar, who has started on the harder compound, so he's run a very long stint here, and he's got Kimi Antonelli trying to retake the position. Antonelli, who has only missed the points on 1 occasion so far in Formula One when it comes to Grand Prix, and he's trying to score another points finish. The driver who, in Japan, the youngest driver ever to lead a lap of a Formula One race, and the youngest driver ever to score a fastest lap point. Alex Albon is the next Williams to pass, and he goes by Hulkenberg down to 12th. Williams running nicely with Sainz and Albon, and Albon was really encouraged with the overall performance. Disappointed to be knocked out in Q2 yesterday, but he's not too far away from his teammate as well. Albon trying to return to the points after missing out for the first time this season a week ago in Bahrain.
They could really use a double points finish as well, Williams. Strong driver lineup for a midfield team, and as you say, missed out on points totally with both cars in Bahrain. Got jumped by Haas, who had their double point score for 5th in the constructors at this early stage, but this is a much stronger weekend for them.
On board to the first turn we go, and another position gain. Fernando Alonso finds himself improving further. This is Charles Leclerc finally getting rid of those medium tyres, and he was able to get performance from that medium tyre in the clear air of the lead. That was comparable to George Russell, and Russell's under threat now for 4th position.
So he hasn't gone long enough to put on a soft in a very aggressive strategy, but he has got a nice chance to go hard tyres, and much fresher hard tyres than those ahead.
This is Antonelli getting past Isaac Hadjar, and the Italian gets by the Frenchman. These two both racing in Formula 2 last year. Hadjar, a contender for the title in his 2nd season, just missed out to Gabriel Bortoleto, and Kimi Antonelli finished P6 in that championship. He skipped Formula 3 to go straight to Formula 2. Very unusual, you hardly ever see it, but Mercedes desperate to promote him into Formula 1 after Lewis Hamilton left for Ferrari.
So now Norris has the clear air at the front of the field. He's no longer got the red Ferrari in his sights, and we'll see what sort of pace he can do on a 30-lap-old hard tyre. His teammate just behind has been closing the gap bit by bit, but now we've got Norris on clear air. We'll see the degradation on this hard tyre. Ferrari and Leclerc will be hoping there is some, because then he'll have a bit of a gain to go and chase Russell for what is still a net 3rd. Norris has to make his pit stop, remember.
Lando Norris, the winner of the opening Grand Prix of the year. The points leader by 3 coming into this one. But a costly crash in qualifying meant that he had to take on an alternative strategy. And his teammate, 3 points back in the World Championship, is 3 seconds back on the road. Norris having to use 2 compounds of tyre as per the rule book. And he makes his way through. And then it will all be about the second part of the race for him, attacking on the softer compound, and you're looking at the fast sweepers, even with the cars heavy with fuel, with degrading tyres. Incredible speeds, incredible direction change. This is the battle for 9th place. Carlos Sainz trying to improve past the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll. Stroll, another driver to start the Grand Prix on the hards. Here comes the Williams man then in the DRS, 200 miles per hour, as Sainz, who has had great pace all the way through the weekend, gets by currently in 9th place.
Yeah, this is making a lot of sense for Norris. His times are still good enough, only a couple tenths slower than Piastri behind, who's getting that little step-by-step onto the back of him. But if a safety car was to come, then it neutralises some of the damage of the pit stop. So if he can continue to keep doing the times, stay out.
If a safety car comes, Norris can win this race with the way he's going. He's just on the best first sector of the Grand Prix on this lap. He has got pace in the hard tyres. That also means that Piastri, Verstappen and Russell will presumably have pace on the hard tyres to the end of the race, and they're not going to have a big drop-off with some degradation. We didn't expect that on the hard tyre, but if Norris could put on, well, he has to put on a medium or possibly a soft, but more likely a medium for the final stint, he will have a tyre advantage in terms of sheer pace. And if there's a safety car, he'll come out right with the race leaders too.
Tidy pass for Oliver Behrman, able to get past Jack Doohan, outside line, inside line, and up to 16th for the British teenager.
Yeah, nice pass there. Still trying to figure things out as Antonelli. Whoa, that's a rookie driver midway through the Grand Prix in Jeddah. He got away with it.
Yeah, concentration. First signs of dehydration will be kicking in, and in the end, you do not get away with touching concrete very often. Someone like Monaco, Singapore, anywhere where there's metal, the arm coat, you can lean on the arm coat. There's some flex there. That's why you walk the track and understand where are the pillars. Normally, they don't put them right at the apex to allow that beautiful little movement you get from the metal. Concrete, not so much.
This is Alex Albon improving to the points-paying positions. 2 Williams there at the moment. Stroll just hoping for that safety car, just running as long as possible. Stroll in 11th, Hulkenberg in 12th, doing the same as well. It's lap 32 of 50, and Piastri is closing in on Lando Norris. Norris, who started in 10th, currently leading, but still has to pit.
I've got to imagine. Yeah, sorry, Julian. I've got to imagine his engineers on there giving him some encouragement, rebuilding his confidence. This is a brilliant job from Norris.
Yeah, he's only losing tiny bits, a couple of tenths now per lap to his teammate as Leclerc pumps in the fastest lap of the race, some 4 tenths, nearly half a second quicker than George Russell. So this is the fight for what currently would be third position once Norris pits. But Lando's hanging on in there and giving himself and the team some strategic options yet.
There is Charles Leclerc, best finish so far this year of 4th place, and was in the mix with a slightly different strategy last time out, but the timing of the safety car interrupted that possibility. Some brilliant wheel-to-wheel battles in Bahrain at the first turn, at the 4th turn, and we're on board with Liam Lawson, who is trying to improve past Esteban Ocon. Lawson, who stopped 12 laps ago, goes past the Haas, and that is the difference between old rubber and new, and he's up to 13th.
Ocon chanced it, didn't he, with the strategy today?
Lando's plan is to keep extending, something like plan C, target +4 for him.
Yep, I think I'm starting to feel the dirty air a little bit. So it's not ideal for me at the moment.
Interesting. That is effectively Oscar saying to the team, okay guys, I understand what you're doing.
Lando's plan is to keep extending, something like plan C, target +4 for him.
Yep, I think I'm starting to feel the dirty air a little bit. So it's not ideal for me at the moment.
Do McLaren make absolute sure by getting Lando to jump out of the way and make this an even cushier run to the flag with only 16 laps left for Piastri? Or do they say, actually, Oscar, just back off a little bit, cool it down, we need to maximise Lando's race?
That's a brilliant question, of which I'm not qualified to answer. You do two things. You either say to the engineers, you do your race, do your best race for your drivers, and then what we're seeing is happening. That's Norris staying out. If you are taking an overview of you not wanting to take any risk of putting Oscar under pressure from Verstappen, then you bring Norris in because he was out of position because of his mistake earlier in the Grand Prix.
I mean, McLaren have a chance to almost guarantee the win for Oscar now because they have a Lando there that can act as a buffer if there needs be later on. But that would sacrifice Norris's race. And Norris is the championship leader. As things stand, he's still there, 1 point clear. So it's a difficult one, trying to keep both drivers' aspirations alive. This could be the answer right now, Norris pitting potentially.
He has been instructed to come in, so the debate has been had, and McLaren want to score another win. Piastri is the only multiple winner so far this season. Oh, that's late on the brakes for Lando Norris, trying to have the most efficient route to his team, who were the first one in the queue, thanks to winning the Constructors' Championship last year. But that was late on the brakes to get to the control line, where you have to be at the pit speed limit. Piastri leads the Grand Prix by 4.4 seconds.
Here we go then, straight fight to the end of the race as things stand. That is it on the left-hand side, your timing tower, 4.2 seconds, Piastri and Verstappen. Has Max got anything left? And has Lando managed to get in the pits okay with that massive lockup? He was down on speed, okay.
Yeah, just looking at the dash there with the display. Well, late on the brakes. The name of the game is be latest on the brakes everywhere. This is part of the racetrack, so how the driver presents the car to his pit crew, absolutely crucial.
Oh, it's a hair-raising moment for the current championship leader, on course to lose the championship lead. Let's show you the live points at the bottom of your screen. Oscar Piastri heading to 99 points and the championship lead for the first time in his Formula One career. The driver in his 3rd season of the championship, a former winner of Formula 3 and Formula 2, finds himself in position to be the lead McLaren and to be the leading driver in Formula 1. We've still got a long way to go. We've still got the walls very close. Kimi Antonelli very nearly, a couple of centimetres away from ending his race and changing the battle for the lead entirely. They are pushing on with every single lap, especially if your name is George Russell, because you've got Charles Leclerc behind. And Russell trying to return to the podium. He's only missed it on one occasion so far this year. That was in Japan, in Australia, China, and last time out in Bahrain, he has been in the top 3 by the end of the Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc trying to change that today.
So Leclerc has 9 laps fresher tyres as he jumps on the gas coming out of turn 2 and starts using the rear grip that his new hards have got. He is 0.6 a lap quicker than George Russell at the moment. As we see black and white flag for Bortoleto. That was for nearly putting Alonso in the wall, and they both just about got away with it. The fight for third is going to really narrow up, because then you've got Norris on completely fresh mediums who will be able to chase them, and the mediums should be okay for Lando to stay in with this short distance on a light car to the end of the race. So they're kind of in reverse pace order now. How wide can Russell make his Mercedes with Leclerc so close to the DRS now?
They're riding on board. This is turn 19. This is now Fred Vasseur, who was telling everyone to calm down a little bit after Ferrari had a slower start to the season than they were used to, certainly in comparison to what we saw in the back end of last year, where in the second half of the season they were the top point scoring team in Formula One. They have not had the start to the campaign that they wanted. Charles Leclerc running in P4, but he does have the favourable tyre life and the favourable strategy to take a first podium of the season. Fastest middle sector of the entire race so far for Lando Norris, who's in 5th position.
Yeah, able to use those tyres to good effect, and well, the gap out front, Piastri, Verstappen, is that tantalising number of just under the 5 seconds, the penalty that he picked up for that first lap infringement.
I don't think he'll look at it like that, because the alternative to getting the 5-second penalty was to cede the position, and either way I think we'd be here. The penalty has been the cause rather than the on-track move, but I think the order is sort of outed between the McLaren and the Red Bull at the front of the field at the moment, and it does seem like, again, track position is king. If you can get the clear air, then you're able to look after the tyres much better, and George Russell seems to be the car chiefly struggling with that right now with the front pack. Leclerc is within DRS range, and there are 3 shots of it coming up right now for him to try and put pressure on George.
You have the main straight, you have the journey down to the final corner, and you have the run down to where we are right now. You can see turn 23 is when you will put on the brakes. 22, 23, Russell slightly wider on the turn in. The Mercedes just not in the sweet spot of the setup, and it's looked that way across the course of the weekend. 1 lap pace looked really good with George Russell. He said after qualifying he would have been pretty happy when it came to being P3, but he was disappointed to miss out on pole. Mercedes back down to earth today, and it might be in a few moments' time back to 4th position. This is the first opportunity for Charles Leclerc, the Ferrari driver that we're on board with at the moment, building up to 200 miles per hour, building up to 3rd place in the Grand Prix. His pace on the medium tyres rewarded on the hard, and Charles Leclerc is on for a first podium of the campaign.
And that is a critical pass for Leclerc as well, because behind them they've got Lando Norris has just pumped in the fastest lap by 1 second quicker than George Russell, so he needed to clear Russell straight away, and now he's managed to do that. It's a beautiful pass, nicely set up, and really a great race performance so far from Charles.
His tyre management has been exceptional.
Well done, Charles.
Thank you, Brian.
So as we were talking about, engineers being part sports psychologists, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek with that one.
I just love the Ferrari team radios between those two, particularly this year. It's great. The coolness from the cockpit, having just pulled off a hair-raising move on the brakes around the outside for a podium position. So polite.
They're going to have a greatest hits album by the end of the campaign. Already had some fun between the two.
Well done, Charles.
Thank you, Brian.
Much better race performance, and finding himself in 3rd, but Lando Norris still in contention. There's a 10-second time penalty for Liam Lawson for leaving the track and gaining the advantage, and he did it at this turn.
So that is the move that we saw. It was on Jack Doohan a while ago. It was tight, but I thought I saw it at the time, and the stewards have obviously agreed. And that's what I said at the time when Max got the 5 seconds. Normally it is a 10-second penalty, and that's what the stewards have there applied to Liam Lawson. So I can only assume first corner, first lap is why the stewards sort of chose a middle ground for Max.
Yeah, I think that is the case, but I also feel that 10 seconds needs to be reviewed going forward.
I don't mind it, you know, because I actually think you can gain so much in getting track position, and if you cut the corner to do it.
It's like a red flashing light on a balcony into Shenzhen. It's really annoying. It's identical to a red flag.
Copy, will report.
No, that could be anything because the track doesn't control the apartment blocks around.
This is the Aston Martins racing, and well, it's not going to be the Aston Martins racing. It's going to be Fernando Alonso getting past his teammate with no position fought for. He's up to 12th. And that's a man, Oscar Piastri. There's a famous photo of him with the Australian cricket captain.
It's like a red flashing light on a balcony into Shenzhen. It's really annoying. It's identical to a red flag.
Copy, will report.
Lead the World Championship wants someone to turn off the red light on a balcony.
Well, imagine being that individual on the balcony.
I think you're being paranoid. The medium is never going to pass us. If you want me, I do it, but we have plenty of space to pull away now.
We'd like first to get Alex in our DRS, and once in the DRS, we use our pace.
Copy.
The Williams doing a little bit of synchronized swimming at the moment. Carlos Sainz on for a great finish here. And he's been targeting that. Had the one-lap pace in Bahrain, didn't have the racecraft. 2 Williams in the points. Significant message on our screen, though. Lando Norris has been noted for crossing the line at pit exit. And if he's done that...
I think you're being paranoid. The medium is never going to pass us. If you want me, I do it, but we have plenty of space to pull away now.
We'd like first to get Alex in our DRS, and once in the DRS, we use our pace.
Copy.
And he's going to need to clear Russell quickly if he's got a 5-second penalty coming to try and disappear away from that Mercedes as well. But you don't normally see those messages if there's not some sort of penalty coming.
Lando Norris trying to improve, and he's remembered earlier in the race he had the pace to dive to the inside there. Didn't want to, though, because of the DRS zone that follows turn 27. Onto the main straight we go. It's going to be a move for 4th position. But Lando Norris is going to have to build a gap, you would expect, of 5 seconds if race control can find conclusive evidence that he crossed the white line on the pit exit.
Yeah, they'll have a camera which gives them clear sight of whether that front, right, left as we look at it has gone across the line.
And this is after the radio message from Esteban Ocon to Oliver Behrman, swap the positions, and Ocon told to not fight his teammate, just like we saw with the Astons a few moments ago. And so we had a few strategy gambles earlier on from Doohan and Ocon, and the safety car. That is a gamble because the safety car has never appeared after lap 20 in the history of this Grand Prix. It's the 5th Saudi Arabian Grand Prix tonight, so we've always had a safety car or a red flag, but we've never had one after lap 20. And Ocon and Doohan were hoping that that was going to change this evening, but they are drifting back out of the points.
You know, several laps ago when I said the gap between Piastri and Verstappen was 4.6 seconds. Well, it's still 4.6 seconds.
Yeah, across the line as they began lap 42, it was 4.6, and just consistent pace between the two of them at the moment, as Verstappen currently finding himself losing a chance to convert his 2nd pole position of the season to a 2nd win, and Oscar Piastri's not too far away though, 4.3 as he manages the gap, trying to win his 3rd Grand Prix of the season.
I think Red Bull will generally be buoyed by this, though. This was a team that Helmut Marko came out after last week and said, we're worried about Max's future. Is he going to leave? Max was really unhappy with the performance of the team in Bahrain, and he just about cleared an Alpine for 6th at the end of the race. The pit stops all went pretty woefully. Apart from Max losing it off the line, he could have won this. Took pole position, had 2 laps in Q3 that were quicker than the McLarens, And, you know, the pace has been really there or thereabouts. So I think that for the long term of this season is really encouraging for Verstappen and Red Bull.
It's getting very, very close between Isaac Hadjar in the Racing Bull, the white car in front of you, chasing the blue Williams ahead. And Williams were thinking about this double point scoring finish, asking Sainz to make sure that Albon stays within his DRS. Key replay now for Lando Norris, who was cooling his hands in second gear, about to leave the pit lane. Does he cross the white line with any part of the tyre? Let's find out. So that was the inside, crossing the line at pit exit, because it's not the one as he rejoins the racetrack, and that's what's being reviewed by race control at the moment. So it was intense on the way in for Lando Norris as he locked up the tyres, and has he placed a wheel over the white line and contradicted the race director's instructions, which would be a 5-second penalty if he did, which would take away his chance, you would think, of getting past Charles Leclerc at the end with 5 seconds added to his race time. That would be the question. It's lap 43 of 50. Oscar Piastri, our only multiple winner of the year, the 24-year-old from Melbourne, is leading on his way to take the championship lead. Max Verstappen finds himself in second place, trying to do something about that gap. Last time around, he was a 10th faster than the McLaren, but it's not able to progress at this stage. Key battle going on further down the constructors table, with Sainz playing the team game, making sure that Albon can defend. He's getting the advantage of the DRS opening on 3 occasions around the lap. Sainz trying to score his best result for Williams. P8 was the aim. P8 may well be what he is able to score and bring his teammate along as well. Hadjar is trying to outwit not just one, but 2 Williams cars that are currently ahead of him. And now we see the race leader, Oscar Piastri, took his maiden pole position in China, converted it into victory in Bahrain. It was a really comfortable performance, just managing the gap all the way through. He had a late safety car restart, dealt with it really nicely, won the Grand Prix by 15 seconds, and there's no further investigation for Lando Norris, failing to follow the race directions instructions, because it's not the key white line that he crossed.
Yeah, I didn't think it was when I saw it there. It looked like he stayed within the track. Normally it's when you cross over the outside line onto the racetrack for safety reasons, and it looked okay from Norris. So a bit of a bizarre one there to have that flagged, and it looked okay. I tell you what, when he came in the pits, he was all smoked up trying to stay on within the white line on the entry there as he was locked up, and you could see him fighting to keep a wheel on the entry part of it, but on the way out it looked okay. So 3 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. I don't think it's going to change his race whatsoever, but at least there's a bit of hope there for Norris, that if Leclerc makes a mistake, he can fight him for a podium.
Charles Leclerc last time around a 132.2, last time around for Lando Norris a 131.8. As we find ourselves into the final stages, so it was all about when the safety car was going to hit earlier on. It came on lap number 1, and as a result it did not affect the battle for the lead, but it's all about that first turn, that controversial moment, adding 5 seconds to Max Verstappen at the pit stop. Whoever's got clear air is getting a real advantage. Verstappen was in the mix to win this Grand Prix.
He was. He had a great first stint, but it was just a getaway, and it's not very often you see Max beaten from pole position off the line. He's managed to get his starts fairly well sorted, but today it was just that grip off the line that got Oscar down the inside, and then he basically had a choice of ceding the place or cutting the corner and keeping it, and either way he'd have ended up in second in today's Grand Prix after the pits. Nonetheless, 3.7 seconds shows that the pace is roughly there. Hadjar's having another great drive.
He is. I was about to say, is he getting to the point where he can shape for a move here? And Lawson not too far away as well. Lawson 2.8 seconds behind his teammate. It's Williams, Hadjar in the Racing Bull, and then Lawson in the Racing Bull.
Yeah, we can see what it looks like to be a rookie in 10th position, having a little check of the left mirror as he comes onto the start finish to see where his teammate is behind. Has a chat with his engineer on the straight as well, and brakes once again in line behind Alex Albon. So we've got Williams and Williams ahead, And what Williams are doing here is the old truck and trailer. And Carlos Sainz is the innovator of this from his Singapore Grand Prix win a couple of years ago. So long as he has Albon within his DRS range, then Isaac Hadjar doesn't have the benefit of DRS on Albon, because Albon also has that benefit, and they're just lining up to stop Hadjar, picking them off one by one. If Albon drops away, then Hadjar on fresh mediums should have the pace to dispatch the two of them.
And this is why Williams was so desperate to sign Carlos Sainz, who has been the lead Williams driver on the grid for the last two races. Alex Albon has been on his own for the last couple of years, fighting.
Oh, man, I need to get out of the way.
So Piastri is now catching traffic at the end and getting a little bit frustrated as he does so. It's Lance Stroll and Gabriel Bortoleto that he is catching.
Yeah, a couple of cars fighting it out over 16th position, and they do need to get out of the way, but still.
Oh, man, I need to get out of the way.
But if he sniffs a victory, he will absolutely go for it.
Well, if you, as we saw with Max Verstappen after the pit stop, if you catch a slower car at a certain part of this circuit, you can be restricted to their pace for basically the entire lap, and still Piastri is behind the two of them.
And this is hurting Oscar a lot. He's lost 8/10 in that first sector. The gap is almost less than 3 seconds, so it is really hurting him where he's caught those two back markers. Leclerc had a similar thing on the last lap. He was 9/10 slower than Norris, which is why, as we jump on board Lando with 4 laps remaining, we can see the Ferrari just ahead. It's only 1.8 seconds the gap, and this is the fight for third position.
Stroll has let Piastri go. Bortoleto will do the same thing, and that's into the first turn. That's where we're heading on board with Lando Norris, who will be desperately trying to make his way by. Stroll's got past Bortoleto whilst all of that was going on. The top of your timing tower, though, it's Piastri, 3.1 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. Piastri knows the job is not done yet. He's ticking off the laps, though. This is 47 of 50.
Norris absolutely on it through that first chicane, clambering over the curbs, attacking turn one there with so much speed, which has been his trait through the whole weekend. And we shouldn't forget, really, Lando's been the quickest driver for so much of this weekend. He's been very, very hooked up around this circuit. Just one crash in Q3 has derailed his whole weekend and changed the narrative. But this is a driver that's been on form in all the practices in Q1 and Q2 as well. He knows how to drive it, and he is really giving it everything to get back to third. This is Stroll with Piastri coming past. He's trying to sneak round the outside of Bortoleto. And that time it looked like Bortoleto might have known there was an Aston Martin on his outside, but didn't care too much to defend.
So Stroll finds his way by, and both of them cleared out of the way of our race leader. 3.4 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. The run down to the first turn, 148 metres to be exact. Looking defining in this race. The penalty applied to Max Verstappen, and then Charles Leclerc having a really good time on the medium tyre. He's got 17-lap-old hard tyres. He went far longer than the top three. The problem for him is that Lando Norris did it the other way round, hard tyre to the medium, and it's 13-lap-old medium rubber that Norris, with the McLaren, is closing in on. Can he give himself a chance? It's 1.7 seconds. Can Lando Norris find his way inside the magical 1 second window and give himself a chance of keeping this run going, of always being on the podium in every single Grand Prix this year?
The thing is, Leclerc's not struggling on his tyres. He pitted so late with that fantastic first stint that he's quicker than everyone else on track, apart from Norris.
Not looking good at all. If you've got any concerns about it getting to the end, I've got a band on the inside shoulder. It's opening.
Russell's not been happy with his tyre degradation all day, and then he's a little bit worried about getting that tyre to the end on the radio. 27 laps he's been on the hard rubber.
Really tough day for Mercedes. Thought Russell, with some race pace, could have been in contention with Verstappen. Certainly should have been.
Not looking good at all. If you've got any concerns about it getting to the end, I've got a band on the inside shoulder. It's opening.
Because he's been on the hards for a long time now, 27 laps. But the team say no concerns, and at this point, they've got the luxury of being able to back off quite considerably. Lewis Hamilton's in the mirrors of Kimi Antonelli, but there's not enough time for him to really be able to do anything about that. And George has got a huge amount of time still back to his teammate. So they'll coast back, but it'll be, I'd have thought, a little bit of a head-scratching debrief for Mercedes.
No concerns for Mercedes. They are at the brink of what Pirelli advises a sensible tyre stint on those hards, but Piastri has gone beyond that. So we are nearly ready to wave the checkered flag for Oscar Piastri. Piastri looking for his 3rd Grand Prix win of the season and only his 5th win all time in Formula One. So this will be a big moment for Oscar Piastri, who is looking to add to the wins that we saw last year in Budapest and Baku. He did the strategic game in Baku, played it nicely, got everything right in Budapest, and then in Baku, a late-breaking move to take the lead on Charles Leclerc, and he stayed there under intense pressure. But this, he knew, was going to be his race to lose. He knew that last week. He won last week, and he is nearly onto his final lap.
Yeah, all he can do is play the competition in front of him, and that was Max Verstappen today, and he managed to get that into the first corner. And since then, he's had it the hard way. He's dropped back. McLaren have done a good job on their strategy today by pitting early and making sure they stayed within 5 seconds of Max, not leaving that to doubt. And so Oscar will be the championship leader in 1 lap's time if nothing else dramatic kicks off. And I don't think Lando is going to quite be able to get back to Charles as well. 1.3 seconds between these two in 3rd and 4th. But you know, I said Red Bull will be happy with their pace so far this weekend and on this race day as well. But I tend to think if Leclerc had started this one on pole, he's got the pace to win it with the pace that they've had. They were so miserable yesterday, Ferrari. Leclerc particularly thought 3.5 tenths away on a circuit that he's good at, hooked up the lap, win nowhere. But today they've been as fast as anyone, and he's within 8 seconds of the race win.
Yeah, an encouraging race pace for Ferrari, who keep trying something different with the strategy. If you can get your car into clear air, it works so differently, it works so much more efficiently. And you can see the story of the race. We're on the final lap of the Grand Prix with Oscar Piastri heading down to turn 22. We ride on board with the man from Melbourne who is coaxing it through the final corners. He got that apex into the first turn, and he took the lead in the pit stop phase. He's about to take the points lead in the battle to be the Drivers' World Champion. This is the final corner of the last lap, and a champion of Formula 3, a champion of Formula 2, is the new championship leader in Formula 1. Oscar Piastri wins the Saudi Grand Prix to beat Max Verstappen by 2.8 seconds. Charles Leclerc scores Ferrari's first podium finish of the season, chased all the way home by Lando Norris, who went from 10th on the grid to 4th in the race. But it's Piastri who improves from the front row to the win, and he succeeds his mentor Mark Webber, the first Australian driver to lead the championship in 15 years.
Backslaps at McLaren, because they've had to work for this one as well. Piastri's done a great job. Oscar's really measured this one from the start. He's so cool and calm, isn't he, that you give him a chance and he's very liable to take it. And once he's in the race lead, that McLaren was working nicely and he never had to look out again.
Oh, Hadjar looking for that late braking move, but he will claim a second points finish in Formula 1. It's Russell in 5th, Antonelli in 6th, Hamilton was 7th, and a double point score for Williams, with Carlos Sainz leading Alex Albon across the line. The teamwork to deny Isaac Hadjar, who finds himself with a second points finish in Formula 1.
Very well done. Lovely job, Oscar. Great work, mate. Really good.
Well done, everyone. It was a little bit more difficult to start than I had hoped for, but yeah, very, very well done. Car was great. Dirty air, not so much, but I'm glad the dirty air is from lapping people. So well done, everybody. Massive 3 weeks, and let's keep it going. Got a lot of fun to have this year.
Yeah, great job.
He's a cool character, Oscar Piastri. You could hear the smile on the team radio there. He said 2 years ago, when he made his debut in Formula One, when McLaren were plumb last in the Constructors' Championship, that this is what he wanted.
Well-executed race.
Well done, guys. Yeah, I tried to give it everything I had. But yeah, it's what it is. Yeah.
Very well done. Lovely job, Oscar. Great work, mate. Really good.
Yeah, well done, everyone. It was a little bit more difficult to start than I had hoped for, but yeah, very, very well done. Car was great. Dirty air, not so much, but I'm glad the dirty air is from lapping people. So well done, everybody. Massive 3 weeks, and let's keep it going. Got a lot of fun to have this year.
Yeah, great job.
After talk.
What can I say, mate? It's a well-executed race.
Well done, guys. Yeah, I tried to give it everything I had. But yeah, it's what it is. We move on. This weekend has been a lot positive for us. So well done.
Yeah, well done, Max. That was good pace throughout the race. You finished 2.8 seconds behind Piastri. Obviously, that first corner we've all got opinions on, and you know, good points today. So, but most importantly, very good pace.
Yeah, exactly that. Well done, everyone.
Back to his teammate, so it shows what a great job he's done, and he's just applying the pressure every session, every race. He's looking like a veteran now, and he's taking in the applause. What a time for Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri shaking hands, celebrating, and getting a big hug from Zak Brown, the CEO of McLaren, who has 2 charges for the title. They've both led the points now. And Oscar's crew congratulating him. Still our only multiple winner of the year. 1 win for Lando Norris, 1 win for Max Verstappen, and now 3 wins for Oscar Piastri, who is enjoying the car that the fine men and women at Woking have built for him. The Constructors' Champions are finding themselves once again leading. Good race, dude. Pretty much sums it up for Charles Leclerc. He'll be pleased with that one after cutting a disconsolate figure after qualifying yesterday.
He'd be my driver of the day, I think, today. 8 seconds off the win, 31 seconds ahead of his teammate. A really subdued day for Lewis Hamilton once again, and Leclerc gets the first Ferrari podium of the season, and some smiles back for that team as well. There's a week off now, and there's a chance for everyone to pour into the day to have a breather as well, let's not forget, before we're back.
Well, Piastri's put his name up in lights around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Verstappen and Piastri talking, and Leclerc and Max, who always seem to have a really intense debrief, those two. The rookie drivers, you can see there with point scores for Kimi Antonelli and Isaac Hadjar. Charles Leclerc checking in. We've basically got to the cool-down room early here, haven't we? And everyone having a breather. You can see the toll it takes on them. 50-lap Grand Prix, and the air temperature is 31 degrees. I'm having a glug of water. Crowd treated to some high-speed action out there.
Easy to forget how difficult it is to keep the concentration on a hot day like this, on a physical circuit. All absolutely feeling it at the end of 50 laps. On the limit, able to push the whole way with tyres that were lasting, especially those hard tyres that these guys have had on at the end of the race. I think Norris will be happy with 4th as well. Solid recovery from him and the fastest lap.
So the top 3 swapping stories of the race. I'm hoping to hear from them in a few moments' time. A couple of laps to go. We dispatched DC, who should be mic in hand, ready to go any second now. And as if by magic, let's hear from David Coulthard in conversation with the top three.
Oscar Piastri, our new World Championship leader, your 5th victory around the fastest street circuit. Tell us your emotions right now.
Looking for a couch, I think, is the answer. It was a pretty tough race. Yeah, very, very happy to have obviously won, and yeah, made the difference at the start. Made my case into turn 1, and yeah, that was enough. It was really tricky to follow out there. I couldn't really stay with Max at the end of the first stint, just chewed up my tires, and then yeah, the clean air was nice after the pit stop. So great race. We did the parts we needed to right. Still need a bit more, I think. Max was a little bit too close for our liking, but a great race and a great weekend.
Certainly a great start. You touched on that. Your launch was awesome. You had to go toe-to-toe. The first time that I recall you doing that with Max into turn 1, and in the end you stood your ground.
Yeah, once I got on the inside, I wasn't coming out of turn 1 in second. So I tried my best. You know, obviously the stewards had to get involved, but you know, I thought I was plenty far enough up, and yeah, in the end, that's what got me the race. So I'm very, very happy with all the work we've been doing in starts, and yeah, that's what won us the race today.
You say you want to go and find a couch. Again, explain to us just the physicality of this race. It's such a fast circuit. You've got the heat. We know you've had some drink issues in the past. I should specify, you've had drink bottle issues in the past. Did that work today, and just how tough was this? Of your 5 victories, was this the toughest?
Yeah, that was one of our biggest upgrades this week, the drinks working. So no, that was good. I got some fluids on board, which was nice, but it's always a tough race around here. It's a little bit later in the year this year as well, which I think it's a little bit warmer, a little bit more humid, and yeah, definitely one of the toughest races I've had in my career. So glad that I could come out on top in it.
Well, congratulations. I'll let you go and get some water. Enjoy the podium.
Cheers. Thank you.
Max, well, you were close, but it all went away on that run to the first corner, or the run through the first corner. We have to start there. You were very clear on the radio that you thought the 2 cars were not going to make the turn. Stewards obviously saw it another way.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it quite short. I just want to say a big thank you to the fans here in Jeddah. It's been a great weekend. I love the track, and yeah, the rest is what it is. I'm looking forward to Miami, so see you there.
Thank you, Max. Well, Charles, I expect you're going to be a little bit happier with your 3rd than Max is with his 2nd. Your long stint was fantastic. It's a little bit confusing from the outside. The pace wasn't there in quali, but your race pace was incredibly strong.
Yeah, it's the way it is for now, unfortunately. In qualifying, we don't manage to extract more out of the car. I was extremely happy with the lap yesterday. I was very, very happy with the race today. I think we maximized absolutely everything. So I'm very proud of what we've done. Now we just need to improve the car in order to be fighting a bit further.
We heard also the interaction with your engineer, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek conversation as he was encouraging you along.
Yeah, he was very chill. Brian was very relaxed on the pit wall. For me, it was a little bit more intense inside the car, but yeah, I mean, we have a very good relationship, and I think that yeah, we can see it on track now, and it shows results. So I'm really happy about this.
Overall, you feel this was the maximum you could get this weekend?
Yeah, by far. I thought that this race was about defending the cars behind, especially Kimi, so it was really good.
So for Ferrari fans around the world, this is a race that never ends. It's about upgrades. What is the next step forward for the team?
Yeah, we need to keep pushing the maximum, and yeah, Hopefully upgrades are coming soon in order to improve the car, but thanks for the support.
Okay, congratulations
Thank you.
to your podium.
David Coulthard speaking to the top three. Charles Leclerc, a brief word with Max Verstappen, and a word with our winner, a very happy Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc gets a different type of day to the one he was expecting, but he was definitely on the limit, pushing on, and he gets the congratulations from his team, having scored their first podium finish of the season, 8 seconds off the race lead. And they're delighted with his efforts. This is the moment that Oscar Piastri took his first place on the podium for a McLaren driver around this racetrack, and it's the top step, punching the air with delight. He is the driver to catch now in Formula One, the championship leader with 99 points, 10 ahead of teammate Lando Norris, with Max Verstappen in third, 2 behind Lando Norris. And into the arms of the team boss. Piastri's 5th career victory secured, 3 of them coming this year out of the 5 Grand Prix that we've run.
On the grid, I was like,
I lap 28, I was counting down already. 29, let's see. Yeah, maybe we need to do something for our steering wheel in those conditions.
so slippery.
What?
Your steering wheel.
My steering wheel mate is so heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah, we have no assistance.
Yeah, that wasn't great for my tires, unsurprisingly.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Mate, the marbles were so bad.
Yeah.
Did you go to marbles once?
Like that, the next 2 laps, I was like,
Oh, I had to go around the outside of the blue flag and I had to take all the marbles. The corner after, I was like 7 tenths.
oh, and it was Gabby as well. He might not have a flight home tonight anymore. You went a long time on the medium.
Yes. Yeah, we were very fast. I mean, we were very fast. As I was saying to Max, I think it's free air has such a big effect here that as soon as I was in free air, I started to have a lot more front and it was a lot better.
A happy time to be dressed in McLaren papaya. Andrea Stella, the team principal, Zach Brown, the CEO. Ferrari underneath the rostrum for the first time this season. McLaren know the feeling. They're there week in, week out. Max Verstappen finding himself only 2.8 seconds away from the race lead in the end. The Red Bull assembling with Helmut Marko, the senior advisor, and Christian Horner, the team principal and CEO of Red Bull Racing. A reminder for you, Isaac Hadjar was in the points, and 9th place was Alex Albon. It was 8th for Sainz, Hamilton in 7th, Antonelli in 6th, Russell P5, Norris 1 second away from the podium, but it's Charles Leclerc in 3rd, Max Verstappen in 2nd, and Oscar Piastri, the man in your picture, the winner, and they are getting serenaded on their way to the podium. And it's time to start the celebrations. The 5th podium of the Formula One season, and the first one to feature a Ferrari driver. Onto the podium comes Charles Leclerc.